One of the defense attorneys for the Oath Keepers filed a motion that identified 80 what he calls suspicious actors and material witnesses. These are people who have not been arrested or charged or even identified. They're only identified by somewhat whimsical hashtags that the Sedition Hunters website assigned to them. And they were present in concentration in certain places where there was trouble, including on the east side at the Columbus doors. So he went through and he gave them numbers, and you'd see when the police line was breached, the breach point included, it was almost exclusively the suspicious actors. Attorney Brad Geyer, when he filed this motion, and he watched this over months, the video, that a lot of these fellows worked in two-man teams, they were tactical teams, and then they were also seen later up on the terrace when they were trying to get into the Columbus doors. He raised a big question, which would be exculpatory for a lot of defendants, that if there was anything that was staged, that calls a lot of things into question. And so he's trying to identify those people. He wants to use facial recognition using the government's own databases because these folks are not listed anywhere. And there's been no explanation. Prosecutors have adopted a policy of just no comment outside of court filings. So we have asked, can you explain this? And there has been no response. Obviously, there will be in responding to the motions at some point. So we don't know and how those folks got there. But compared to people who were charged, and some of them very quickly, some on January 7th of 2021, to have people unidentified, and that large a group that don't even have a name, much less be arrested or charged, that strikes me as very unusual. They were in various places. At the first breach point, in a smaller number, on the east steps leading up to the rotunda, a much larger group, and then there were others that were at the location where Ashley Babbitt was shot. Pretty substantial, more than 20 that we've identified. For the most part, people that have not been arrested or even identified. Some of them are listed on the FBI's most wanted site, but we still don't know who they are.
One of the most suspicious individuals, one who's shown up in a lot of headlines, is Ray Epps. What happened with Ray Epps?
We see him a lot on video from January 5th and 6th. On the night before, he was amidst the Trump supporters and appears to be encouraging people to not just go to the Capitol the next day, but to go into the Capitol.
Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol.
And got in some verbal sparring with some Trump supporters who were chanting, "Fed, Fed, Fed." Had him pegged as an agent because I think they knew it was an illegal thing to do, potentially. He went around that crowd encouraging people to go into the Capitol. Because of the stakes here, we've got to go into the Capitol. There were plenty of people charged that day for encouraging others to go inside the Capitol, and Ray was never arrested or charged with anything.
Wait, so they're going after people for entering the Capitol building, but one of the individuals who demonstrated, premeditated entry to the Capitol and was encouraging others was never actually charged?
That obviously raised a lot of questions, and I know he denied being any kind of an informant, working for the government, but yet we see him quite a few times after that, and this was well before the president had finished speaking. At the first breach point, he is seen interacting with some of the people that pushed over the barriers, and one of the men charged with the first breach, he was talking in his ear. Hard to say what he was saying. He claims that he was telling the young man to back off, but what the fellow actually did is he turned around and dumped over the barrier, and the group was off to the races. He was seen again at the next breach point, and again, just backed off of the front line. So he clearly had a presence, and the prosecutors have promised to explain and give more information about him. Back in March, they said they would do that. That hasn't happened yet, so it leaves a lot of questions and speculation of what a lot of the defense attorneys are calling suspicious actors.
Who is this individual we're looking at in this piece of footage?
Well, a radio journalist from Michigan was shooting video that day at the Capitol. What he captured were two, most charitably called, suspicious actors, but they are dressed in such a way that led him to believe that they were government agents. And one of them, after the windows had been broken by a protester, it was encouraging people to pull the rest of the glass out and go inside. Bobby Powell, who was the journalist that had shot it, and he has his camera rolling, he told him that would be illegal. And that wouldn't be a good idea. He warned people off not to go into that window. And then he turned his camera around and he caught this agent or suspicious actor pulling a large pane of glass out, this tempered glass. It kind of folds into itself, crunch onto the ground. When he realized he was being filmed, he quickly dropped it. It seems apparent on the video that he did not want to be seen doing what he just did. So he pulled in a protester and started blaming him. He said, "What are you doing breaking that window?" The poor fellow that was being accused didn't know what was going on. And then he gave him a couple of really good shoves and cocked his arm like he was going to punch him. We don't know. His facial image is not on any of the Sedition Hunters sites or the FBI's most wanted site, but he clearly was committing criminal damage to property, and he has not been charged. So it raises a question of why. Have we not been able to discover his identity because his face was covered and he was wearing dark glasses?
Who's the other individual captured in this footage?
At the nearby Columbus doors, these giant bronze ornamental doors, we had the second suspicious actor who was holding the door open, the inside door, with a wooden pole. He just stood there and had, it was like a fairly thick wooden dowel holding it open for a pretty good chunk of time. And he was also pushing people into the entryway. In fact, the journalist who shot this said he got a very strong shove. That this guy was hold the line, and was pushing people in. He probably would have been there longer, except he got a dose of tear gas in his face and was put out of commission. And then we don't see him again on that video. But making it easier for people to get into the Capitol and encouraging them with a good shove, again, raises questions about who is this fellow.
In addition to this, so the guys trying to push people through, these are captured at the same time by the same journalist. Also, the individual trying to, again, opening the window up is even encouraging people to enter, I believe, as well?
Yes.
What's he saying?
Well, he said, why don't y'all open the rest of it up?
Why don't you guys open up the rest of it? Because I think that would probably be illegal. Oh, I know, my glasses.
He just came out of the blue. He was off to the side or behind the journalist who was busy picking up the broken glass. I'm pretty sure that's why he wheeled his camera around, is to catch it, because while he was telling him this, while the suspicious actor was encouraging him, he was busy pulling the glass out. You could hear it crinkling while he's saying these things. So, and again, it was just encouraging people to do what we're told they're not supposed to do, is trespass in the Capitol.